built like a pretty good foundation, like going through the split, and now it's mostly about adapting our foundation to the opponent that we're going to face and being specific in the very small details of what we're practicing towards that opponent.
The confidence level going into the playoff, where everyone definitely believes that we're the best team right now. We did drop both games against Team Liquid in the regular split, but I would say there was some bad draft, some bad plays. But coming into playoff, we're definitely more prepared, and we've been actually fixing a lot of issues. Everything is going smooth, so yeah, I'm really confident.
Welcome back, everyone. You just heard from the coaches of Cloud9 as they have indeed built themselves a firm foundation, taking the first match here in the best-of-5 series. The first game, I guess, in the match, if that's your vocabulary. And I want to interject real quick one thing. I am a huge fan of the kind of phrasing that Mithy used to say, look, we have to build a foundation, but we want to fine-tune the details against our opponents. Even in something like a regular season, not just like, oh, you know, here's a best-of-5 every week at Worlds. I'm a huge fan of tailoring yourself to your opponent week in and week out. You're only playing 3 games. You can kind of look at those opponents and prepare for that one. Obviously, in this case, they've got a whole week to look at TL and say, let's tailor ourselves here. I think it's always a very correct way to go about it. I'm glad we heard that there.
And it resulted in a very smooth game number 1 for them. And the biggest thing that people have been talking about for Team Liquid and even Team Liquid themselves has been their early game. So it follows that Cloud9 really wanted to attack that early game, see what happens when they take away Alphari being this huge early game presence, winning lane matchup. They attack him early on. They also get winning lane on bottom side. So definitely a good game plan to test out in a best-of-5 when people are expecting this series of winners to go to 5 games. Really like the advantage that you're able to get both in information as well as just racking up the win there for Cloud9. So in number 2, let's see, it looks like the Tristana actually falls even on blue side for Team Liquid to ban. And usually these types of bans are not, you know, kind of just pass by as you're like, okay, yeah, you know, they're just banning OPs, but they're actually doubling up on both AD carry bans here that can be played in the solo lane for perks, as well as the added extra tidbit of in their last series versus TSM, Team Liquid actually stopped early prioritizing Tristana for tactical because he did have another one of those risky jump in you know, moments on the Trist.
Yeah.
It seemed like, and watching some of the Team Liquid squads, you know, he was definitely thinking about that play afterwards as well. So maybe Team Liquid have an abnormally low priority on Tristana, not willing to first pick it like some of the other teams in the LCS are. And, you know, you just want to double up on it because Cloud9 do have perks, you know, best mid laner playing AD carries.
Exactly. I think, you know, Lucian is basically a mid lane pick right now, and Tristana being a flex and Tactical having some kind of poor performances on it, yeah, it makes sense that they don't prioritize it very much, but it means that's 2 bans locked in every single time. Kaisa was the 3rd ban that TL had grabbed when they were on red side. On blue, where it was Gnar, Udyr, and Gangplank from Cloud9, where we've got the Gnar and now Renekton and Thresh. Obviously, they first picked Renekton, so some different looks here as well, meaning GP and Udyr are available. Udyr, of course, would be a Cloud9 pick since Hecarim has already been locked in, so that's an easy one to leave available. Rel going to be locked in alongside. Again, if you really care, Kaisa is up as an opportunity. Not sure there are any outstanding blind pick top laners left with Renekton gone, so no, instead, they just want Nidalee yet again with most of the pool still up. They're saying, no, this is the pick for us.
Honestly, I was also expecting the Rel to get packaged with an early Kaisa pick, but they have this huge priority on Blabber Nidalee, it feels like, until we start to see cracks in that. I definitely think Blabber had an amazing game in game number 1. You know, prioritizing top side, getting the early pressure off, you know, taking all early game objectives for Cloud9. So I definitely see that there. And with the Seraphine lock in here for Team Liquid, reminder that it is very flexible. Could be Jensen, Tactical, or Core JJ, any of the 3 playing this. So it doesn't actually give away a whole bunch.
Keep in mind, the second Cloud9 saw Seraphine Hecarim, they insta-locked Sylas for perks. Like, it was not close. And indeed, the exact same draft comes through again. And this, by the way, is why Cloud9 picked Nidalee. And I think some of it is, yes, they have priority in giving Nidalee to Blabber, but also they want to make sure that they can third pick a mid laner for things like this, where it's like, well, there's a Hecarim. Okay, that's one of the 2. Show me the Seraphine. All right, we'll show you the Sylas and hijack your ultimates. So Cloud9 are getting to run back you know, 50% of the same drafts right now. Top lane will look different. Like, that's going to be an important, different detail. But Perks on Silas was the large reason why they won in game 1. They've got it again with the same ultra steal.
Yeah, they're putting pressure on Jensen. See what he has to try and counterpick it now, because guess what? Ari did not do the trick. And that was the counterpick last time with moving the Seraphine to bottom lane in the hands of Core JJ. So they actually don't care which role it does end up in. You're also indexing pretty heavily in healing already, just in champions with Seraphine, Hecarim, and Gangplank. So Grievous Wounds is going to already have pretty high value for the side of Cloud9. Some other things to look at for them. I will say, too, Rel to me is still, like, I just can't stop gushing about this champion. I just think it is the best support. It's so insanely good, especially in the hands of someone like Vulcan, who's so good at getting these engages for the team. And if you are running Silas mid, if you are running an all-in mid laner that wants to go initiate as well, what better partner to set him up to go for, dive buddies with than a Rel? So lots of options there on the side of Cloud9. Team Liquid, it does feel like there's pressure on the side of Team Liquid to come up with something, both to deal with the early game and kind of retake that as a point of power for this team, as it has been something they've relied on, but also be able to put a stop to this C9 juggernaut.
All right, top lane is going to be answered with a Scion here. We saw an Aurelia ban, Team Liquid and Cloud9 when they fought in the lock-in tournament. There was a really, really good Aurelia game from Fudge. I believe it was into Gangplank. He pretty much carried the game to the 8th. Jungle help was part of it. Otherwise, though, he kind of killed everybody. And so, all right, you know what? It's time for weak side instead. We're going to go for counterpicks to the bottom side. Team Liquid, they're going to show us a Senna, which is still theoretically flexible until we see, is it a Tahm Kench with Seraphine mid? And it is. So that's the lock-in here on the Team Liquid side. Rel plus what? Ooh, if you're safe to play a Jinx and Hyperscale, I mean, you've got a frontline with Scion. This could work.
Yeah, Jinx, or if you want more lane pressure, could go for Ashe as well and have crazy engaged. Rel, Silas, and Scion there would be a very, very good all-in team. But they go right back to the Kalista. This is definitely going to be some all-in pressure for the Senna versus Senna Tahm Kench combination here. I'm a huge fan of Senna Tahm Kench at the moment, though. I think it's so incredibly good for them. It's definitely going to take some outplay, because Kalista Rel can definitely get very good engages on them, even with the extra safety of a fed Tahm Kench. I will say, again, the Grievous Wounds has so much value versus this Team Liquid team. Even without seeing anything else in this game, like that should be prioritized very early from them. Kalista can get a Hurricane, so she can apply it really easily. I think it should be a pretty efficient buy there for Sven.
I'm curious when it would come in, though, right? Because obviously he wants to finish Shield Bow, he wants to finish Hurricane, and then if your Executioners comes in third, I'm not saying you're suggesting that, but like that is a very late time to get Executioners plus Hurricane in together, and it also means that it would delay Bloodthirster. That said, no one else on Cloud9 has easy and efficient AoE Grievous Runes applications. So like it probably does go to Sven. I agree wholeheartedly, by the way. Like they should get it somewhere. It's not super clean on anyone just because you want multiplicative stats on a marksman. We'll see what happens though. That will be down the line. We're into game 2 here on Summoner's Rift, the best of 5 to figure out who is going to be the first team to make it to the LCS finals here in the mid-season showdown. The ultimate winner will head to the mid-season invitational. That'll be exciting, but that's still another week to go till we figure that one out, as Blabber and Alfari somewhat trade blows, though Blabber doesn't know that just yet.
Vulcan attempting for a possible crafty level 1 setup there, but already the ward watching the pit here from Team Liquid. Research done by them. You remember really, really early on, all the way back to the lock-in tournament, people were warding a lot of the bottom side Dragon, looking at possible level 1 plays when you have stuff like Rel or Rakan, looking for these sneaky ones, jumping over the back of the pits. And with the Rel going over to the other side here with Vulcan, they're not taking any chances. We do have 2 early sweepers as well, with Core JJ also going early sweeper here.
I'm a fan of this.
On the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, I'm a fan of basically jungle and support are the two who most want to immediately go sweeper. And because you get the free sweeper cooldown if you start with a ward, let your jungler and support be the ones to do your early wards. Let them recall and do sweeper. This is like kind of the most efficient way to do wards. Like by comparison, Perks doesn't have a ward, right? He used his trinket ward and now has no way to ward for himself until someone buys control. And that means he sometimes can't track some of the jungle ganks that might be available.
Okay, back to the bottom lane matchup then that we were
Yes.
talking about in Champ Select. When I was talking about Kalista Rel having good options into the Senna Tahm Kench, even though that's one of my favorite bottom lanes, is that Kalista can stack up spears into Tahm Kench, and even if you gray health, she can wait. And oftentimes the Tahm Kench doesn't get really good timings on gray health. And so it becomes a very effective execute, even though Tahm Kench can obviously devour tactical. Oftentimes, this duo will actually just go for the kills onto the TK.
Level 2 combo comes in. Summoning Heal burned early for move speed. Is there enough to kill Tactical? A few autos come in, and now at the mid lane, Blabber's here. Jensen's already flashed. Is it enough for a pounce? A flash Q. Not going to be the case just yet, but he's right in front of Santorin. Oh, no, Blabber, that was too much. First Team Liquid.
That is jungle ruined, Freak. Jungle is ruined for Cloud9. Santorin's even going over to try and steal these Raptors. And guess what, Perks? You're Silas, but you've only got 50% HP. And he's just going to finish up the Raptors. Jensen teleports back out to mid lane. Not only was Blabber already behind from going 2 camps into looking for the gank on mid, but giving over the kill now. It's an extra camp stolen away, plus the extra first blood money. Like this has got to be Santorin's game to change this for Team Liquid. Game number 2, you need a big rebuttal coming out in a best of 5. And the big changes already on the board here are jungle difference here for Santorin is set up for the Hecarim to just roll over it, but also biggest thing even coming out of Champion Select, Alphari in a winning matchup on Gangplank on top side. He should just be able to brutalize Fudge. The Sion can't get anything started versus Gangplank, and then Gangplank also has global advantage. The Sion pick is for the team fights, for the front line, for later. Alphari, though, is definitely going to be a much, much bigger issue for Cloud9 in game number 2 here, and it looks like Santorin should be as well.
So far, so good on the TL side. 1,000 gold puts them ahead. Sure, there's some CS still to grab in top lane, but honestly looking pretty good. Core JJ is out CSing Sven. Honestly, the first Crashdown didn't do enough on the C9 side. They got a Summoner Heal. Obviously, that is good, but ultimately, the Tahm Kench is out CSing the Kalista, and that means Tactical Senna is putting out so much pressure that Sven has to drop farm. Fudge, not enough mana to go for a full charge Q to do anything to Alphari, so he'll wait for his time back in, but honestly, he's going to need Nidalee help, because without mana, he can't fight back the other two, and it's not a good recall at any point in time right now, so he needs a Nidalee.
Yeah, definitely going to need some help, but guess what? Nidalee needs camps, because Nidalee's so far behind, Freak, after Santorin was able to steal away Raptors too. Santorin's probably going to get level 5 off of Krugs. Blabber does have the next respawn of Raptors to go to, but he's got to clear camps. Can't be dealing too much with the lanes and the current state of the game. You'll just continue to fall further and further behind. Have to keep those cycling so they keep on upgrading experience for you. And Jensen as well in mid lane, a lot of pressure relieved after the first blood was turned around on Blabber. I will say his flash was still blown, so it's still a flashless Seraphine in mid lane, and Perks is looking for it.
Flash Crashdown not going to land, but the other half's going to, and that's going to be the full combo. 3v1 Jensen, I'm sorry. Nothing could have been done about that, buddy. Oh, just all the CC came across. So 1 kill back at the board to Cloud9, but it's still down 600 gold.
Here's what you have to do about it. You have to ward aside for the Seraphine to hover, because everybody in the whole game knows it's a Seraphine with no flash. And Seraphine with no flash as solo lane is just looking scrumptious there. You can tell with Perks' movement, he really wanted that payback. He's moving up here on the minions, but there's no side. Look at the map right now. There's no side Jensen can hover. He's got no vision top or bottom. Just gets completely smashed here as Vulcan heads over to add extra weight to the gank towards mid. And this is something that we mentioned in game number 1 that Cloud9 used so effectively. They gank for Perks, and you unlock Perks. You get Perks out of mid lane, roaming around on the Sylas. with some early support advantage there for Vulcan, making a big move for Cloud9, going for this gank on mid. This further sets up Perkz. Even though he doesn't get the last hit on the kill, and Vulcan actually took that back to bottom lane, he'll still be happy to get the extra push on those minions.
Might be expecting a second recall out of Fudge pretty soon. He is completely chugged through his entire mana pool, but he's level 6. And the Cowards charge from across the map, maybe his way back in, as I don't think you want to really lane against GP with no mana. You're going to just drop CS ultimately, because he's just going to kind of get that across. As Tactical keeps the harass going. CS has equalized in the bot lane, 53 apiece, pretty much. And still some decent harassment, as Tactical wants to keep stacking. Vulcan only on Hex Flash is no longer nearly as dynamic, and can't scare Core JJ as often.
Perkz as well, free roam of mid. He pushes out the wave. This is what happens when you gank for your mid laner, get him ahead in a Silas matchup where he's got all-in pressure. He's level 6 now, so he can steal ultimates. Here's your Nidalee Freak that you're asking for. Fudge gets it, the ultimate in onto Alphari, and Blabber's there!
He's a bit low, 300 HP, puts the ulti down. Does he have enough damage to kill Fudge? Not with a Javelin landing right there. Alphari saves Summoners. Did not burn Flash to dodge, and once again, top lane finds itself 1-0 thanks to jungle intervention.
Is this allowed? It looks like it. There's no teleport on Fudge. Alphari did use his ultimate on top side too, so wasn't going to be any intervention there, but with jungler showing, that's all that they need. Pushing in bottom side, jungler for Cloud9 showing on top side means Santorin does get the counterplay, does pick up the first dragon here for TL. And this is a team, again, they do want to rely on grouping up in their synergy with the Seraphine and Senna healing up the rest of the team for these team fights to allow the Hecarim and Gangplank front line to really dish out a lot of damage. So they will be very happy to start getting these dragons early.
Hex Flash channeled, though, means a pullback. Nice chomp, though. Is it going to be any more? Crashdown again has a 15-second cooldown, so has to be ulted back out. That was going to be so much move speed lost that Vulcan was going to take too much damage. Blabber kills the rest of the ward. Ultimately, no more plays bottom side. But that is an ult burned.
Yeah, and this is why Senna Tahm Kench so highly prized. You put out a lot of pressure in lane because the Senna gets to harass while the Tahm Kench CSs, so you have a beefy Tahm Kench, and then if you go for the Senna, immediately devoured, spits him back out, gains the extra range, and the Tahm Kench is just so incredibly tanky, they can't get anything done there. Cooldowns used on the side of Cloud9 allow Team Liquid another early objective. Santorin immediately up to top side and picks up the Rift Herald in addition to the first dragon.
Nicely done. Okay, still though, 400 gold lead, dragon lead on TL side. And with the Rift Herald up top, TL can grow that by another, call it 300 if it's just 2 plates for the crash, but maybe more like 700 if they finish the turret with it, so we'll see how much more it surges.
And the Rift
Now
Herald itself definitely giving
yeah,
decent
plus 100, sure. Yep.
Like,
so, yeah,
like the invade going in here on the red quadrant for Cloud9, again using Perkz with his freedom from mid lane, taking away these Raptors, trying to starve out Santorin, get Blabber right back into it.
Jensen able to clear the waves, though. Ultimately, mid lane CS, closer than last game. Ahri obviously a bit more of a bully, and even though a kill was donated over, that buff and that gold went to Santorin, so it didn't affect Jensen's lane that much. The gank back obviously equalized things a little bit, but now be careful. 2v1 top side. Ult is... Wow, the timing couldn't have been better. He was already getting charged by Santorin, so he was not hit by the ult hitbox and able to keep moving forwards. I mean, that was honestly millisecond perfect there from Fudge to not do anything weird with that ult.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. It's so funny how close you have to be before your Scion ultimate will actually hit the Hecarim, but he goes right through him and immunes the E-charge back. So well done there by Fudge to gain the perfect distance. Nice timing actually picked up, and it's just going to be in action on top side, which is what they want for the Scion.
Yes.
Fudge doesn't want anything, spicy popping off up there. They did get the early kill there from Blabber, propping him right back up, but really now what they want to do is just hold topside with Fudge, let Perkz again, get over to this bottom side, see if they can actually roam with all the deep vision that they've been able to accrue towards this red quadrant for them. Team Liquid beating them to the punch though, Rift Herald activated, and that will cash in.
So it's just going to be 300 gold split across Tactical and Santorin. So 160 ahead and nothing more than that. Honestly, none of the turrets are getting big headway. Top turret stalls all 5 plates, mid the same. Bot was just until now also that count. So it is one of the lower value Rift Heralds. Keep in mind, in the last game, C9 got the entire top turret off that crash.
Here's another look at the timing for Fudge. You can see Santorin gets the E off. So right as he's passing through, but before the knockback has been applied, Fudge is able to immune it there. Perkz still living in the Team Liquid bottom quadrant of their jungle. This is probably his 5th, 6th roam into the bottom quadrant. They've kept up this deep vision on the red side jungle of Team Liquid. And he's constantly been threatening roams to the bottom, but it hasn't been an entire cutoff of Tactical and Core JJ. They've still been able to push up these waves. They haven't overextended, haven't been caught out yet. And Cloud9 haven't been able to quite capitalize, except for the repeated Raptor Camp steal.
Good sidestep. Jensen, more than almost any player, is really, really good at, I guess, sort of guessing or reading which way it's going to shoot. He sidesteps so many skill shots basically every game. It's a miracle when he actually lands the stun on the guy. He really does an outstanding job of dodging that stuff out. Ultimately, his job is still to be the late game team fighter. You can see plenty of mana, Moonstone plus the tier, going to be getting the eventual Seraphs to get more of that going on. But, you know, he's just there for team fight support and stacking up golden XP until then. Primary carry is going to be the other 3 gold earners, and it's a very physical damage-heavy composition. We're waiting for that to kind of come online. The gold difference now about 1,000, the Herald Crash being a third of that. And now we have the next dragon spawning. And honestly, level 10 Seraphim with enough mana and a Moonstone, reasonable team fighter. I want to see what this 5v5 might look like.
And it's really important for a Seraphim player to be dodging skill shots like that, because without the flash and heal, you're so vulnerable. But coming into this dragon fight, Team Liquid, they keep Alfari on top side. His teleport is ready. His ultimate is ready. So they could make the call to counter this with Cloud9. Seraphim's in a kind of awkward spot, though. So I think with that teleport, C9 should get it. Seraphine, you need Seraphine grouped up with the rest of the team. She cannot approach by herself, cannot flank. And so with just this rotation by Fudge and Perkz, they're able to get the objective no problem. Some easy drifting there. I mean, those are soft corners, freaks. If you really want to impress me, you got to get some Fast and the Furious style drift in here through the river entrances to the jungle and really make a big play. That'll get me. But up behind the back of the pit is kind of easy mode.
You got to watch the LJL for that, right? That's where the Tokyo Drift is. So, unfortunately, though, we've got nice straightaways here. I don't know if you watch any NASCAR, Kobe, but, you know, we go for the easy tracks here in America. So
we only go counterclockwise.
He knows how to turn left. Thankfully, he's got that on Zoolander, which is nice. But otherwise, you know, they'd be a match made in heaven. One can turn left, one can turn right. Wow. I mean, what can't they do at that point? Either way, it's still TL looking good. The Dragons have been tied up. Sure, that's nice. I know you were talking earlier about top lane being kind of low impact because you don't want weak side defeat or anything. But it's also been free farm for Alfari. He's, you know, comfortably in a Divine Sunder. He's on his way to his second item. Perk's gonna try for a bit of a steal. Not gonna get this one. Is there a re-engage though? 3v3. Okay, trade of Hecarim, ults double Fury on the one side. Charm coming across. Not gonna hit much there either. Xenol buys a bit of time. Everfrost not gonna land. Vulcan getting dangerously low and has no way out. As the kill goes through, Santorin is 2-0.
Either that call from Perkz and the C9 members in the river is over-aggressive, or Fudge should have started walking earlier. Fudge was up topside on the side, just pushing out the minion wave in front of his tower. And so they're outnumbered in this river fight. Team Liquid, they even call in the teleport from their bottom side fed Tom Kench. And with that, they do get the extra kill. Chased off the Rift Herald for now. It's just second Rift Herald, so quite significantly lower value than the first Rift Herald with no plates available, but is still going to be a chance for them to converge. With Senna coming right back out from Fountain right now, I think there is enough time for Team Liquid to regroup and fight this.
4 ults missing on TL, nearly all available for Cloud9. This might not be an easy battle for the TL side. We'll see, though. They got the gold lead. They should have better items. Engage comes into Santorin. He doesn't have any way out, but he's chopped back up by Core JJ, keeping him safe. Fudge down to 700, but safe enough. 1,000 left. Is there a split? 8 health, but it gets burned down. Just barely claimed, but maybe not picked up on the Cloud9 side. Unless you want to kill yourself to go for it and try to find a way to jump back out. But the 5-on-5 is still on. It's tactical. He's just running forward, finding the damage. No problem at all. Stacking the souls. Nice double root for Blabber. No root coming across on Jensen's side. So when escape happens, 100 gold earned by Cloud9, but no Rift Herald picked up by their side. And TL with the bigger health bar is going to get just as much damage now down to the mid turret. In fact, they're staying around. And with the Demolish on, they could almost stop the TP. They're not going to kill it in time. It's going to have Fudge back, but the health bar is still lower. Tactical, very, very safe as they walk down this turret, down to 350 health or so. Well done, TL, honestly.
And you kind of see on screen why in Champ Select I was emphasizing Grievous Wounds so much. Yeah, it's really early into the game, and the only Grievous Wounds they have is the Bramble Vest on Fudge, so it's on the Team Liquid members. Only those ones who are attacking Fudge are going to get it applied to them. But Seraphine, with the early spike of Moonstone there, and the extra healing from the Senna, it's just such an easy sustain war for Team Liquid to win. And you saw Alphari by himself just chunks down Fudge to 20% while the rest of the team is going for the fight. Tahm Kench just buys you time, devours Santorin right back up. All they need is time to win out on the sustain wars of these early fights with all of the healing that Team Liquid have, and they're able to push them back, gain that advantage for themselves. Mid towers now down with both sides for Cloud9 being extremely weak. So we've already hit the midpoint in the game where Team Liquid get to group up around their first mythic items and get to sustain through a lot of these longer fights and just slowly push out Cloud9 off of these objectives. As long as Cloud9 doesn't get a burst kill, with the Rel engaged, then Team Liquid will be feeling very confident.
Probably going to want to see Executioners. I know we talked about it in Champ Select. Kobe, maybe it really should have been first item. Delay the shield bow, but get the healing cut. It's going to be a bigger health difference overall. Because whoever you're focusing is when you're going to try to kill. It's one that's going to be being healed up on the other side. Alphari teleports to the bottom lane. We know Baron is up in 2 minutes, but Dragon's up in 20 seconds. That's where the team is going to stack up here. Clever coming down through the river. Looks like a 4-on-5 until Perch TP is joining in now. Big stun on the front side, but CoreJJ could be the target. Jensen low, but Hecarim fears 4. Charm on a 3 as well. Knockup's not going to be a kill, and it's time for the healing to come on in. So guess what? Cloud9 do not have the stats to fight. A Fudge Flash will buy some time. The Dragon's going to spawn, but Santorin will always chase him down. The Flash means nothing as it's time to push down more of the base and take the second Dragon for TL.
So much for dodging skill shots, Freak. It turns out if CoreJJ is on a fed Tahm Kench by your side, you could just Seraphine straight up walk right in face first to a Scion. CoreJJ devours him, and that's all the time that they need. They get off the Seraphine heal, they get off the charm onto 4 people, and even without Gangplank there, it's just the Gangplank ultimate. So Seraphine walks up, they get comboed by the Scion. CoreJJ critically gets off his Devour, which allows Jensen to get spat back out, heals up the team, charms all 3 members through the Gangplank ultimate. So even when Sven tries to flash backwards, he's still in the Gangplank ultimate, slowed and damaged. And this allows Tactical to just shoot him like fish in a barrel. All the Cloud9 members, not just Blabber, getting prioritized there. And that was without the Gangplank here at the setup. It gets even worse when Alphari's got barrel change to go. Look at this. I love it too. Serpent's Fang picked up for Alphari. He's going for the early lethality. Yes. Can cut through these shields from Scion as well, from Rel. Definitely a super efficient item. Here we did also have the Executioners, I think, right before the graph popped up. Saw that one in inventory for Sven. So now Cloud9 also buying their utility items. Shield cutting on the side of Team Liquid, heal cutting on the side of Cloud9. They actually don't go for this bush play onto Alphari. His ultimate is back up, and with Flash, he could fight his way out.
That's surprising. They had good ward coverage. They knew no one was that close to nearby, and they said, now the 2v1's not doable. We don't have the damage. That's interesting to me because I think they could take the risk. They're down 5,500. 2-on-1 is one of the better fights you're going to get this game. Barrel's going to happen to find Perks. This man is probably just dead. Steals the horse heal just in time. Runs away for his life. Just barely lives thanks to galloping. But, well, right now it's still going TL's way. Top lane tier 2 going to drop. It's 4-1 in turrets now. The gold difference still growing. Farther and farther and further ahead here as TL makes their way down to the mid lane. Fudge had pushed in the wave to the bot lane, but no one's there. I feel like he sees most of TL. He's safe to auto the turret, but ultimately takes the recall instead, despite there being no objective play for right now.
Yeah, does Cloud9 don't want to give up any more territory here, but look at this establishment from Team Liquid. 3 control warriors in Cloud9's red quadrant of their jungle. So they can freely transition between mid and top side where Alphari is split pushing. Fudge runs through one of the wards, see if they can get to him.
Perks has to flash away, gets a bit of a health, and it's not going to be enough. Alfari solo kills the Cloud9 mid laner, and it's time to do a little bit more now as Fudge is left alone 1 versus 4, now 5. Who's going to get the kill credit? Tactical claims it for good measure. Out he goes. And again, TL just find the picks and walk away clean.
Yeah, that's why they don't try and pull off any funny business on Alfari. Guess what? This time around, he got a dream easy matchup with the Gangplank, and he's able to fight for himself with the extra ward coverage that we just talked about. Team Liquid, they make the counter move here. They see Cloud9 moving for the attempt to pick onto Alfari. They're rewarded with the Baron as well. And as one-sided as game number 1 was, Freak, seems to be the reverse here for TL. Yeah. Off of the first blood on Blabber, level 2 Nidalee towards mid, gets first blooded by level 3 Hecarim, opens them up for so much map control. All the early objectives go their way. A free matchup for Alfari on the top side matchup results in a very dangerous Gangplank that you see on your screen now. No need to go into the details of that 1v1 as he just pops Perks before Vulcan could even get in range for the defense there. And it looks like Team Liquid can easily just kind of bulldoze through this one. Their team is so strong in just grouping up. It's already Chem takes speed plus your Deadmans on Hecarim, so you can find your engages, find your transitions, and he's going for Perks.
All right, finds the charge, a bit of a knockback and a slow. Ulti pretty soon if they need it. They don't, though, so a killing spree now for Tactical, 3-0-3, and a Zeal upgrade for him as well. I love it. I like to see the earlier mid-game spike on the build, gives him mobility, and now, all right, you took not even a single small Krug. Sorry, Fudge, you tried. Centaurn still with ult. Doesn't decide to go for the tanks, though.
Bye-bye mid.
Too greedy.
Alfari's on the mid turret right now, casually just chunking this one down with the Baron-empowered minions as well. Gets that one to 20% just by himself as the rest of the team chases C9 out of their own jungle, and that one is gone.
And there we go. Another turret picked up there, destroyed in the mid lane. Top lane under fire by Jensen. In the meantime, until you have Perks respawning in 5 seconds, there's no defense here in the mid lane. Jensen walks over in 12. You know, it's just a couple seconds, not going to be a problem there. Gold earned, soul popped open, and now time for another turret to be knocked down. Mid inhibitor is already dead, top inhibitor about to be opened up. Centaurn going to be CC'd in front of the turret, but that one's going to drop now, and Sven going to be the target, going to be charged at, just barely stays alive with the shield bow, only so big. A killing spree for Alfari, a charm onto the rest of the team. It's time for the cleanup, baby. Everybody's going down, just Blabber left alive as Fudge's Ghost drops as well. Cloud9 may have stomped TL in game 1, but Team Liquid are looking at a 24-minute victory in game 2. They got somewhere to be, apparently, and it's game 3 with the lead here as they're going to knock down the turrets. The Nexus itself, KDA is not going to be stacked up either, but 24-04, the Nexus will fall. Team Liquid slaughter Cloud9 in game 2.
Whoo, what an answer from Team Liquid, and this series is definitely going to deliver. Top 2 teams in the LCS, winners bracket finals. Gonna be evened up here at 1-1. Blue side means a lot. The champion select this time around so much different as it looks like very similar team comps. Oh, they also still have the Sylas mid for C9. They still have the Kalista on bottom side for themselves, but it's so different when you have the winning matchup for Alfari this time around. Gangplank into the Scion. Jungle makes a big blunder, going way too far up at Seraphine's tower, getting snared in and giving first blood over to the Hecarim. That means there's going to be a big jungle gap now, and with your bottom side actually getting their hands on Senatom Kench in 4-5, it's such a good response there from Team Liquid and changes the entire game. No real point for Cloud9 to actually start working on, and Team Liquid show that they still have it. They push forward. Definitely excited to see how this one actually plays out, Freak, because now we've got the answer.
Yeah, I like your point, Kobe. Not a lot for Cloud9 to do and accomplish. They had mid-pressure that stole away Raptors a couple of times, but we didn't see much else out of them in the early game. Obviously, Team Liquid did an amazing job, and well done to Centaurn for being in the right place at the right time so many times in this game. So, Team Liquid have tied up the score 1-1 in this best of 5. This series is getting even more exciting. And this day from Analysts, we'll be breaking that all down right after this.
It's a work of art, and this Assist of the Day presented by State Farm. In an extended skirmish between TSM and EG, Sword Art found the perfect opportunity to break the mold.
Follow up from behind. Shizuke's ulti doesn't find anything whatsoever. The counter engage is beautiful. Sword Art shows him exactly how to find a big multi-ulti. And everybody from Evil Geniuses, despite starting it off with a kill, has nowhere else to go but home.
And the pendulum of dominance swings the other way. Team Liquid do even it up at 1-1, and we have ourselves a series here against Cloud9. Raz, I'm coming straight back to you, my friend, on Champion Select, because it was team... Yes. Oh, snap. You better be ready. Team Liquid swapped to blue side. They still lock in some senses, a similar composition with the Hecarim and the Seraphine as the core, but they bring different pieces around it this time around. Nidalee's still on the side of Cloud9 in the jungle, but without that Renekton in the top lane, feels like we were missing a little some of that magic.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the same criticisms we threw in with the Nidalee pick, is that the setup is needed. Now, in this case, the setup was mid, obviously a botch. We will talk about that as we get in later on, but the overall composition from Team Liquid is a lot better because it's a more holistic approach. It's talking about, well, what does our full team fight look like? What does our composition look like? Where previous game, sure, you threw the Seraphine bot lane because you were afraid of the mid lane matchup, but if you actually now take that step back, you can contest for objectives a lot more freely. You have the Tom, Kench, Hecarim to be able to face check that, even if you're falling behind in a game. So in this one, I really enjoyed it. And also, man, playing Nidalee, Kalista, and Silas into this composition, just playing triple melee into Seraphine, Tom, Kench, GP, blows. Hate it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like we talked about everything that was so good that went for C9 game 1. It was like, okay, they had topside pressure to shut down Alfari, who's really good, and they actually, play that correctly. And you take the same draft back, but this time you don't actually have the Renekton. It just blows my mind that they self-counterpicked the Scion into the GP. And like, it doesn't even function well in lane, but then it also doesn't do anything for your team. You're an early game team, as Raz is saying. Like, you're going to get crushed by the time you see the Scion pick. Like, you're not going to out 5v5 that. So, like, why are you taking a champion that's going to play frontline for this comp that really needs extra threats, maybe side lane, 1-3-1, ways to pull this team comp apart? Scion does nothing for these other potential win conditions, and it just felt like a really big question mark pick for me when you see especially how well TL adapted to the blue side changes while still largely playing this kind of team fight focused team comp.
It's also a really interesting point to look at this compared to game 1 in terms of the Renekton, in terms of setup, but also in terms of how they treat the Sylas pick and the effect it can have or not have based on what else happens in the composition. The most egregious thing, honestly, for TLs is just that they do lack a lot of early pressure. I've already touched upon this before. I don't particularly like Hecarim when you don't have a ton of like really pushing lanes to try to cover some of his early farming, but that is totally fine with this TL composition. All they have to do is get somewhere like early to mid game with a slight deficit and they're fine. Like it's like smooth sailing. They will just end up face rolling this composition, even with the Sylas pick, which there are really good ultimates to take, obviously. And that's why they're locking it in so early as soon as you see the Seraphine Hecarim. But this comp, it gets to mid game and it just like, and that's kind of what we saw.
Yeah, I mean, so we take the inverse. Inverse of that comment, though, and it essentially indicates that Cloud9 has to get off the ground with their composition. And when that's the case, of course, we're going to take a look at Blabber. Yes, he's back on the Nidalee. No, he doesn't have the Renekton to necessarily set him up well, but the question becomes, can he get off the ground and create a jungle gap in this game? Unfortunately for him, Emily, that train goes off the rails very quickly.
Yeah, so this is, like they're going in, they're going to punish the Seraphine. This is a rough matchup for her. Oh, wait, no, that's not actually what ends up happening. And the reason why this is, just looking at Mark's face, this is the reason why this is so bad is because, like we said, C9's biggest chance to win against this composition is to attack them early, because you get to a point in the game where they end up outscaling. And this is actually particularly egregious because it is such a good matchup for the Sylas. Seraphine should kind of get shoved in. She shouldn't be able to do all that much. And this resets the entire lane for her, right? So she's suddenly fine. And yes, they do end up punishing Jensen, I believe, because his flash was down. So they do end up coming in and killing him later. But at that point, it already doesn't matter because they can't punish her hard. They already can't punish her hard enough in order to be able to mitigate how strong she ends up being mid to late.
Yeah, for me, this was just like, that was really punishing for the jungle matchup, because what happens here, I think is great for the Sylas Nidalee, is having Seraphine, who can't really control her push. If she's queuing for trade, she's queuing for push. Try and go for a gank. Try and get something off of her, because that setup is great. But then, even though if she gets chunked, fantastic. She's in a really bad lane state right now. Like, she'd have to go back to base or really call for Hecarim to get a full shove. All of these things are really good. Obviously, Blabber goes too far because he wants to like chunk more or see if he can get a dive. That's really greedy. But now Hecarim gets full push on mid because Seraphine's gonna have to base, and then gets Raptors. Like, overall, like, Hecarim now is set up to succeed and can just like basically Nidalee just has to permafarm at that point. So that was for me, that was the really punishing thing, was the jungle matchup that I have to be worried for.
Yeah, so the early game doesn't go as planned necessarily, Mark. And I think you see the recognition by Cloud9 in that they have to keep putting the foot on the gas if they have any chance. And so they choose to contest time and time again on some of these global objectives. This is only 15 minutes into the game, and yet it still doesn't give them what they want.
No, I mean, this is a fight that they're trying to force. It's an okay engage, but you just see how impossible it is to really find one target to lock down and burst out when you have Seraphine heals and shields, you have the Senna heals and shields, you have the Tahm Kench Devour, and they're just so good at kiting back. Every single one of their champs but Hecarim actually enjoys kiting back, and then they have multiple tools to actually dive in when it's their time to go as well. This fight just shows almost how futile it is already at 15 minutes because they did not get ahead in the early game. And, you know, that's with a okay engage. Here's one that looks pretty much perfect onto Jensen, and it's still not even that close to killing him, and you get to see the counter engage come through now as everyone just kind of drops their ultimates. Really not looking good for C9 in the mid-game team fights.
Yeah, like, literally both of those fights, I can see a way where Cloud9 should feel like they're winning. Because Silas has Seraphine ulti stolen, and Seraphine doesn't have ulti because she used it just previously. Like, from an engage standpoint, you're like, okay, we have that, but but like triple melee once again, Seraphine is still incredibly useful even without her ultimate. Like the heal and shield, like you mentioned, but also the fact that she has the snare to just back people up, so she's just a snare bot at that point. And then that team fight, yeah, you already said it. Like, it's insane from that point forward. If you're running in as a deficit versus a stronger team fighting squad. Hard. That's when you just say we lost it. It was already difficult early on. We lost it at the draft if we can't get a large enough lead early. So that's a tough one to take in.
Yeah, both games here have been kind of smackdowns, one way or the other. So Emily, as we now turn our attention toward Game 3 of the series, it's Cloud9 with side selection. They're going back to blue, the winning side for both teams. What's the answer? Is it time to ditch the Nidalee, or just again secure the proper matchup to lead her to success?
I mean, if you ask me, I would probably 99% of the time just say it's time to ditch the Nidalee. I think there are other things you can do on blue side, like flexing the Trist that ends up being really valuable. Obviously, we saw already that you know, TL was reluctant to do it. C9 might not be as reluctant, so I'm curious to see how the bans actually go here, because we've been prioritizing junglers instead of having that Trist as an early flex pick on blue side. So that's what I'm looking for, but I would drop the Nidalee only because she requires so much setup. She requires you know, specific stuff to go right. She can be incredibly powerful early, but there's a trade-off there. So
Raz.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I would. What we saw was successful in Game 1 was like basically playing counter to what Alphari was playing. They had an opportunity to go towards an Aurelia on 3-pick. I think if they run into the same situation, go for it. If you have Nidalee and you have an Aurelia there, then you can continue to do the same thing. So I want to see that a little bit more.
All right, well, the teams are going blow for blow at this point. We'll see if Team Liquid can keep the momentum going in our next match. But as we go, buckle up and get ready for some interesting sandwich opinions as Grubhub delivers Freak his very own taste of home.
I've got my own interesting eclectic taste. The biggest thing, I think, for me was between ages 3 and 5, I lived in Germany. Because we were in Europe for 2 years, we traveled around a lot. My parents knew we're not going to get this kind of ability to sightsee ever again. There's like a lot of European foods that I have a really strong affinity for just because I got to grow up with them a fair bit. Their overall cuisine is probably Italian food. Calzones are delicious. Calzones are inside-out pizzas, which is outstanding. I mean, it's bread on the outside. It's basically a sandwich. I am very ingredient and shape chaotic as far as sandwiches. So a hot dog is a sandwich. A taco is a sandwich. Tortellini is a sandwich because it is still filling inside of what is functionally bread. I will live by the fact that very, very many things are sandwiches.